Hi, I'm Glenn Hughes.
And I'm Ed Buzio.
For 3 decades, I've been working inside a publicly traded company.
And for over a decade, I've been an entrepreneur supporting companies like Glenn's from the outside.
In this series, we look at the problems and challenges of the modern workplace
and provide our ideas and advice
from the inside
and out.
Ed and I have a lot of conversations with our clients about goals. And a typical reaction is for people to just sort of roll their eyes because they don't think their goals are any good. When we dig a little deeper, they'll often ask us a question that may seem ridiculous on the surface. And it sounds something like this. Mommy, where do goals come from?
I think usually the answer they believe is something like this. Somewhere in the sky many years ago, someone wrote up a bunch of ideas to the company, and now we have some reason to turn that into your goals, which we'll show you at the beginning of the year and again at the end of the year. And between then, just get to work.
Yeah.
I think I don't have to tell you, we agree on this. That's the wrong approach to goals, right? Goals are more about day in, day out. What are you working on?
Yeah.
You've done some good work on that.
Well, the other place where people are convinced goals come from, and they're not totally wrong about this one, is that a senior executive walks into a dark room, shuts the door, grunts real hard, and then walks out and goes, I declare $6 million in sales this year, right? We call those stretch goals. The problem is they're often stretching people till they snap because there's no basis in reality.
Well, and also the executive at the high level articulates this goal, and then you go down the organization 5 levels, and they're saying the same thing, even though that's not at all sensible at that level of the organization, right? So what's that even about?
Right. So fortunately, that's not the typical case. While the chain may get broken, I think you and I agree that goals come from a chain. And that chain starts somewhere. It doesn't have to start at the top. It often does. Where the CEO says, based on data, I'd like to see us achieve $6 million in sales this year. And then that gets parsed out to product groups at 2 million, 2 million, and 2 million. And that goal comes down to another goal and a cascading goal set down to the employee. I think the key is that chain sometimes gets broken, or the communication of the chain, the line of sight, gets broken.
Well, the chain has to exist, and I think the communication of the chain, from my perspective and my culture and management work, is the more important part, because there actually was work for a long time that suggested there should be essentially a big binder before computers, where it was the 1.0 and the 1.0.1.1 all the way down, and pretty much figured out that's a tax on the organization.
Yeah.
Putting the whole thing together formally doesn't work, because by the time you get done writing it, it's already changed.
Yep.
But if you have good upward and downward communication and good paths to keep revising what we mean by that and where are we actually heading, then that's pretty powerful. And I think that's the sort of the good answer to where the goals come from, is it is our organization's current best understanding of what you have to do to contribute your piece of what we're trying to do. If that's your answer, that's a good answer.
Yeah, and that's the fact. If the answer is my goal came from my manager, then you believe that it's sort of this arbitrary ornament on a tree. And you hold your ornament and you optimize your ornament while the tree dies. Right. And that's very unfortunate. If I know that the goal, the star at the top, is that $6 million, then I can hold my ornament and say, ooh, I know what I'm doing and it's contributing to that. Not only does that motivate me, but I can also say, I'm working on this and it doesn't contribute to that, or there's a better way to contribute to that. And that line of sight, I think that's where goals come from.
So I don't know if I can do this in terms of Christmas, but one of the key management practices we talk about is upward-looking success. And that is, if I'm on your team and there's 5 of us, we all work for you, you've got a set of goals that you owe your manager, and we've each got our own set of goals. But when we come together as a staff team, we are a team aimed at achieving your goals. Because what that does is it says, if I can get my goals done at the expense of my peer, I'm not going to do that. What you say to me is, look, you're both successful or you're not successful when mine get done. So I'm going to go help him or her. She's going to help me. That's upward-looking success. And that's one of the things I look for in the goal structure of, I don't need my little low-level goal to have visibility all the way to the top every single time. That's hard to do. But I better say, I know how I contribute to my boss's success, and I'm on a team working on my boss's success, and he's on a team working on his boss's success. That's the linkage I'm looking for.
So essentially, elves building presents for Santa Claus.
I knew you were going to bring elves into that.
And reindeer leading the way because, hey, Rudolph knew the goal.
This is about as much clarity as a lot of the stuff I've seen on goals has, actually, which is it's sort of like goals are important, Christmas is good, and there you have it. But absent some real understandings like you've worked on in your work about SMART goals, I think people don't do it very well. And we should talk about that for a minute, because your SMART goals are different than everybody else's SMART goals.
Well, I could talk about this for a long time, 8 hours, but I'll just throw one out there. Where do goals come from? I use an acronym called the aggressively set criteria. And that's where do goals come from? I think they should scare your competitors. They should engage your team, and they should thrill the customer. If it doesn't do those three things, then I don't know why you're working on it. And by the way, when I talk to executives or employees at companies, I can pick any random goal out of their system, and they will say, it doesn't scare the competitors. In fact, they're probably thrilled we're working on such a menial, trivial task. It sure as heck doesn't engage me. I'm not even sure why we're doing it, and I can think of 100 things I'd rather do. And thrill the customer, I don't know, we haven't talked to them. Right. And so I think if you're looking at that, goals come from trying to beat the competition, trying to sell to the customer, and trying to pull the best and brightest ideas out of your staff. That's where goals come from.
And get your staff working on whatever their piece is of the bigger puzzle, and get them doing so in a way that is flexible and changeable, but also functional, as opposed to working on the things that our competitors would be glad we were doing because they're so distracting from the real work.
I think what's really empowering about that acronym is earlier we started with top down. Your boss says $6 million, but there's a really good chance that you have some awareness about your competition and your customer, and certainly about yourself. And so the ability for you to generate goals that feed the system to get that $6 million, or even change and say, hey boss, it should be 8.
And that's exactly why we do upward-looking success, to say, let's come together and say, is this right, and can we do it? As opposed to some weird assumption that the person on high can feed down exactly what we should be doing, because they don't know what we're doing. They're up there looking at what they're looking at, and we're down here doing it. So we're the ones that have the expertise in our work.
All right, so where do your goals come from? Are they a Christmas present, or are you helping to contribute them?